Welcome back to Season 3 of InterpreTIPS, where you get to ask any questions you've ever wanted to ask about interpreting. I'm Marjory Bancroft, Director of Cross-Cultural Communications and founder of the Community Interpreter Program. Today's question actually comes from one of our licensed trainers for medical interpreting in a hospital. She's based in a hospital in Ohio, and the question is about interpreters signing as witness. Here's the question. Hello, Marjory. What are your thoughts on the interpreter being witness for clinical research consent? Would appreciate any direction and guidance from you. And this is especially a tricky question because there's a Code of Federal Regulations which governs clinical research on human subjects, and it requires that the witness, quote, be present during the entire consent process and to sign the consent document. In her particular case, her hospital, their IRB or Institutional Review Board also prohibits the study subject or family member from acting as the interpreter. And so a doctor's interpretation at her hospital of the federal regulations is that the interpreter must sign as witness. So thanks for the question. It's a tough one to manage on the ground, and interpreters are being hit with this question across the country. We feel for them. That said, the national discussion is clear. Interpreters should not actually be signing as witness, and there's a few reasons. In terms of actual standards, we only had one. That was the ASTM International Standard for General Interpreting. ASTM, which stands for American Society for Testing and Materials, is the U.S. national standards organization. They create standards for everything from baby bottles and railroad ties to interpreting and translation. Unfortunately, the more recent edition of that standard in 2015 deleted that particular mention. So we no longer have any standards that say interpreters should not sign as witness. However, most interpreting specialists do consider it to be a conflict of interest for interpreters to sign as witness. I would also respectfully point out that the doctor you mentioned is not a lawyer and should, in principle, not actually be making legal decisions for the hospital. After all, would you really want your lawyer doing surgery on you? And what is the interpreter there for? The interpreter being asked to witness a signature can vary. The reason can vary from consent to consent. Sometimes the interpreter is asked to witness it. They just saw the person sign, the patient sign, or in this case, the clinical subject. Sometimes they're asked to sign as the interpreter that the person understood the consent or the information that was being communicated. And the fact is that the interpreter cannot be paying attention to anything but interpreting. To sign as a witness could also be illegal, not just a professional conflict of interest. For example, let's say there was a malpractice suit and the interpreter were subpoenaed. Would the interpreter be subpoenaed as the interpreter or as the witness? So it's ultimately the hospital's responsibility to produce the witness. You know, what would they do for English-speaking patients? The concept is let them do that here. But I personally would be very grateful if the interpreting profession would formalize that decision somewhere, and specifically within its national standards, because right now the situation is a mess, and interpreters are being asked more and more and more often to sign as witnesses and feeling that pressure and not knowing what to do. So thanks very much for a timely question. Good luck to you.